Hire show. How you doing, Amy?
I'm awesome. I'm ready for the show.
It's that time of the week again, right? It's
It is.
between yourself and Bill. It's like, all right, here we go. Two shows a week. That's all I do now. So it's been great to have both of you. And this subject, I'm kind of glad that you brought it back up about ageism because I enjoyed the last show with it. How you set up these questions, and we're going to go over a lot more there. But the show went over well. People responded to it. I was getting comments and messages. So ageism does tough subject or a sore spot.
Right. I mean, there's just a small group that's not affected by it, but I think this is definitely a good time to talk about it. And we'll do another deep dive
Yeah.
like we did before.
All right. Well, we'll be right back after this video. Phew. I'm looking out that window and I'm hoping that we'll get so if the power goes out or anything, I apologize, but man, you look out that window out here and I'm like, what the hell just happened? And those trees, it got so dark. I was like, damn. So we'll see how it goes.
Right.
Um, Again, Amy, I want to thank you for this subject because I last time I told you I printed out a lot of stuff and didn't get to talk about it. There was a couple things I wanted to go over with you first before we go over this. Is do you think with the ageism that you need to change your email from an AOL to an
Oh,
MSN? I've seen them. No, I've seen them,
yes.
and I listen. I have MSN, and I did make a Gmail now because
Yes.
MSN is still. Listen, I don't care. I tell everybody I'm 60, but I think MSN is just old school. But when I see the AOL, wow, I'm like, I don't know if I would do that. I really don't.
Yeah. No, AOL is a definite, that will definitely give away your age.
Yeah,
And it doesn't show, for me, it doesn't show that you're able to advance and
right.
go with the times and adjust easily. So AOL absolutely
Yeah,
needs to stop being used on a professional level. Personal,
right.
sure,
Yeah,
but professional, do not use AOL. And also making sure the way you name your email,
yeah.
make sure that it
That's a
is
big
not
one. Yeah.
yeah. So making sure it's a professional email.
I didn't think
There's
of that. I
some
didn't think of that. You're right. I didn't really think about that. I always think of the younger generation because they
right.
got these crazy ones, and I'm like, dude, listen. A little suggestion when you're applying for jobs:
Right.
change that. Crazy Harry something. They have all these
Correct.
weird names, and you're like,
Right.
all right, why would you do that? Why?
So, Dave, I'll share with you. I called a candidate to do an interview, and the way that they had their voicemail set up made me not call them back. So it said, hello, hello, hello.
Oh yeah,
Just kidding. Leave them name, number, a brief message. And I'm like, click. I'm that
yeah,
I mean, if you want to do that with your friends, I mean, but you don't know who's calling you. But I literally did not leave a message. I
right.
just, that turned me off. I could not move forward. So there's just those little things that will be a deal breaker. And I
Yeah,
think the AOL definitely needs some attention. And
yeah. That
you have your voicemail, your email. Those are things that need to be considered. It may not seem like a big deal, but it definitely is a big deal.
And I'm glad you answered it like that because I feel the same way. And I think I need to be honest with the candidate. I need to be. I've told candidates before. Listen, just make a Gmail. Because I listen as a recruiter. I told you I don't care who I speak with. I don't even look at the age. I really don't because
Mhm.
ever since our last show, and then when we go over these questions again, it really puts it in perspective when you look at
Mhm.
it this way. because wow, the questions, the way people answer them, a 20-some-year-old versus an older, let's just say seasoned employee.
Right.
Um, I chose sometimes more of that older, not because of their age, but because the way you worded those questions and the way we answered them.
Right.
We're like,
Right.
wow, that does sound better.
Yeah. And
You
so,
know?
Dave, the other thing too that I've seen on resumes is
Right.
having your date on your,
Right.
if you have high school, don't put your high
Right.
school on there.
See, that's what I mean. Same
and,
thing. Right.
and then leave the date you graduated off of your college.
Um,
So
I
just
took
leave
my
that blank.
age off the military. I have just the United States Army. I don't have 1984 to 1988. I don't have it.
Right.
And
So
I took
those are
that.
those little key items that people need to remove. And when I see that you put a high school on there,
Yeah.
that tells me that you're very young and that you don't have a lot of experience. And I can tell
Right.
that from your resume anyway, but you don't want to call that out any further. And so, if there's no need to have your high school graduation, and you don't need to have a date for your college. Those are just little tidbits. I hope.
For that. And I
Yeah.
look at also when I see a lot of jobs, and it's a great, I have to look at I only have like 5 jobs in my career. All right. So it's pretty easy for me,
Mhm.
which is a good work record, I always feel. Because no matter where I go, it seems like I've stayed for at least 8 years and then something always happens. I don't know what it is. It just like
Right.
happens after that, and maybe it's a good thing. But my point is, I've seen some, and you can, even if it's a 2 page, I'm not sure if people think because they're older that they need to put them all on there. Because I don't think listen, I don't think I need to go back, put my military, and then my career, I put the jobs. And you'll see, I don't mind putting 10 years, 15 years, 7 years. You know what I mean?
Right.
You start putting 5, 6, 5, 3, 8, and you keep going down. To me, that's another, again, I don't look at it that way, but I think some recruiters and some people and companies do look at it that way.
Right. And, I think just to remind everyone that your application, it doesn't have to be every job you've ever worked. Your
Right,
resume is about the jobs that are pertinent to that position.
right.
And if you do have a gap of 5 years, you're going to have to explain that. You can
Yeah,
do that in your cover letter. You can do that in an email. You can, or, just you can try to bridge that the
right,
best way you can, but just don't think you have to put every job you ever worked,
right.
because it may not be relevant, and it just doesn't. It's not a
No.
good showing. So.
Yeah, it's not like you had to, like, if you started out in school and you went, you could just put your college. You don't have to put the year, like you said. You can keep it to a minimal. It's okay, the address and stuff like that, but just these are the little things that I'm honest with candidates. I'm like,
Mhm.
listen, my job is to get you an interview on no matter what job I've ever been at. But I'm going to give you a little bit of hints here, and
Right.
also the 3 page resumes, and we've always taled about that. Just because you have all that experience doesn't mean you can't put, like, on my resume, when they redid it for me, was it has that first paragraph, just my skills, what I've done through the whole years,
Mhm.
has my last 2 jobs, right? And then all my other jobs are just on a one line.
Right.
Because if you look up top, you're going to see all the experience. You can put everything that you've done in all those other jobs, put them
Mhm.
up top, in that first paragraph or the cover letter. You
Right.
know, the cover letter is a very good way to, if you want to add that stuff in there, because listen, I'm old school. I read the cover letter. I really do. Some
I
people,
know.
I know. I just feel sometimes if they put the effort into it,
Right.
some will really do it differently. You can tell the generic ones,
Yeah.
but some really put a lot. But if you put that experience in there, you don't want it all down those 2, 3, 4 pages. And I think these are just some little things that'll help.
Right. Well, I mean, kudos to you for giving that information,
Yeah,
because I think people are so hungry for that advice and
yeah,
the constructive criticism that you take the time to do that. And I
yeah.
think, really kudos to you, because I don't think a lot of people get that.
No, and you need to be honest, because again, I'm the salesperson. I always
Mhm.
feel like, listen, I'm for you. I don't do anything but try to get you into that point. If I don't feel you're a fit, I don't bring you in.
Right.
But if I feel you're a fit, then I give all the pet peeves. Like, and I've told people the way I the way they dress. Okay. It again, for ageism. Okay. There's nothing wrong with hipping it up a little bit. You know what I mean? Just, old school's great, but maybe a new sport jacket, maybe a new, you just those are the little things that people look at. They'll be like, and I through I'm gonna say years ago, you would be like, oh boy, look at this. Here's comes somebody old, right? You don't need to be like the way you dress. I think that helps. Look sharp, look upbeat. The way your tone. I've actually told candidates the older. I keep saying like the older ones, but the way they talk, it's like you got to boost it up a little bit because
Right,
the recruiter is probably half your age. Let's face it. I mean, the
right,
recruiters when you look on LinkedIn, you're like, wow, this person's only got 4 years experience as a recruiter. And I've been working for 50 years and I got to answer to this. But that's a narrative that you don't want to go down that path
right.
because that person, you're going to listen, no matter that Gen Z, no matter what or anything, you need to get into that person's mindset of be like, wow, that they don't even look at Dave as saying, wow, he's an older guy, but you need to talk and be upbeat.
Right. And, even there's, depending on what the type of job that you're hiring for, like a
Right.
warehouse worker, or supervisor, manager, director, like every layer, there's a certain amount of uh, that needs to go into that. You need to make sure that you're always on time, never late.
Right.
You're
Yep.
dressed appropriately. You have a resume that you are the way you present yourself. You shake hands. There's
Yep.
just so many little things that are observed that it may not be a deal breaker, but it definitely is noticed. And to
Do you like the handshakes and all that stuff? Do you?
Oh, Dave, I was just going to tell you the story.
All right.
So I had a manager come in for an interview, and they had a limp handshake, and this person had a limp handshake with about three or four people that were in the interview. And
Right.
after that interview was over, the only thing that was discussed was how the handshake was. And I think it probably went on about 5 minutes worth of the handshake,
Right.
and that was noticed. To have a conversation about that, as long as we did. Now the person did a good job, but that handshake or the lack thereof definitely was a focus. Now, I have
Right.
had people shake my hand and hurt. Now, I don't
Yeah.
want that, but don't give a limp handshake. And when somebody comes into the room, you got to stand up.
Well,
That
that's what I was just gonna say to you because I just started really doing that more often.
yeah,
I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I talk about this stuff all the time, but now I find myself getting up because
yes.
you're just sitting there and you're going like this, or I don't know. It
No,
just
don't sit down and shake my hand. Stand up, acknowledge. I'm going to do that. That's just a respectful thing to do. So
right
again, for all these little things, that definitely garners attention, either
for that.
good or bad. And just those little tweaks that may seem really insignificant are
Right.
will be noticed at one point or another.
That's awesome. All right. These are the great things. I love how you did this. And this is a part everybody, if you look at this, if you are watching a show maybe at a certain time, it's probably easier to look on it as a on a computer versus screen because I'm not sure if you can see these, but we're going to run through some questions that how a typical 20-year-old would answer versus a 55-year-old. This is my favorite part. I love it. I love
So,
this that you
so
did this.
Dave, do you want to be the 20 or 50?
I'll be the 50.
All right,
I'll be the 50. So,
all right.
but I like how you put on here the overall mindset of a 20-year-old. If you want to go over that,
Yeah. So the overall mindset of a 20-year-old is the potential and the
right,
eagerness to learn, the adaptability, strong work ethic, enthusiasm, coachability. That is huge. Teachable
right.
and trainable. I work with you all day long.
I like that
Um,
word. I like how that's worded though.
yeah,
I like
and
how you put
fresh
that
perspective
coachability.
and
Right,
reliability. So, I would rather have somebody who's got the eagerness, the willingness, the adaptability, than somebody who's got the experience, because then you've got to break some old habits and then recreate new habits. This new person, they don't know what they don't know, and they're just going to go with the flow. And it's longer, but it's
right.
easier to work with that mindset than
But
it
it's
is somebody
exciting
with
too at the same time, the way you worded that. It's
what's
exciting
right.
that you have somebody that's, man, coachability, I love that fresh perspective,
Yes. Yes.
you
All
know?
right, Dave. You can
So,
take the 55
all
year
right,
old.
55-year-old, here we go. Naturally experienced, let's go, let's just put that out there. I like this sound judgment. The best one I love here so far is the leadership.
Yes.
That's to me, that's most important. Adaptability, wow, that's just that means you're just ready to change. You could do anything. Dependability, yes. I'm gonna say 1000% on that because in my experience, the last years and years, that's always a big issue, with dependability. Mentoring, that's I love that one. Problem solving. I mean, commitment to continued learning. These are words that I told you before that I'm gonna try to start using more.
Yeah, and I think that if somebody of the 55, 60-year-old can really hone in on the commitment to continued learning,
Right.
that is a boost. That is, because then in some areas, I mean, some people may not think you can learn anymore, that like you've already got as much experience as
Right.
you have, and being able to know that they're open and willing to continue to learn, that is key. Because I've worked with some people who have been twice my age, and made it very clear like there's nothing more for them to learn. Once you stop learning, like, I mean, that, I'm sorry, that's it. That, I don't want to hear that.
You don't wanna
So
hear it.
every day is a learning opportunity, and for it to have that mindset that there's nothing else for you to learn, well, that's a good way not to be on my team.
Well, do you think I always whenever you talk, then things come to my mind. When you say the mentoring, do you think you watch football all the time, right? And they always talk about how the older quarterbacks, like they weren't brought in. They don't like to do. Some of them don't like to do that mentoring of that young quarterback. They don't really do that because I think sometimes they're afraid that they could take their job.
Right.
Do you think that happens a lot within that? Because listen, I don't think like most people. To me, I've learned through experience. Man, it's so much better to teach them something
Yes.
because it's going to make your job so much easier. Because
Right.
you got this person, I'm going to show him this is the way I like it done. Now, if they have other ideas, it's great that they come back. I love it when they
Right.
come back with another idea because sometimes you might be like, whoa, that's pretty freaking good.
Right.
I didn't even think about that, and you might get that back. But you think that sometimes people take that too seriously or
I think there's all different types of out there. Some that want to share the information, and some that don't want to because they
right,
are afraid that they might be moving themselves out. But also for new people coming in, I
right,
mean, I would like them to be a sponge, learn, because there's things that you're never going to learn except through experience. And you
correct,
have somebody holding your hand, guiding you through, and saying, okay, now when this happens, watch out for XYZ
right.
because of, and give you the why behind it because they've experienced it.
They've
And I
experienced
think
it.
that that is such a powerful tool. What went right, what went wrong, what would you do differently? Those are three keys that I hone in on in every opportunity that I can, because
Right,
it's always a learning opportunity. And I think that being able to have somebody that you can teach and train, that somebody wants to know that, I mean,
right.
I love that. I love that.
Well, it's like me with my son. Listen, I had him before you came on the show here. I have
Mhm.
to have him come up and show me how to do all the sound settings and all this different things because I'm like, it doesn't sound right. He's the one, well, the air conditioner, or because it's not a desk now that I have this new thing here and the sound is not
Right.
sitting flat. And I'm like, okay. But my point there is it's there you go. I don't care where it comes from.
Right. And
It's
you're
no reason
learning.
I don't
He's
give a
teaching. Yeah.
seven-year-old gonna teach me that, yeah, and
Yeah.
listen, now I know where to go, and he showed me the one thing, I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so friggin' dumb." But my point there is, it's the same thing in the workplace, it's like, I didn't think of that as saying, "Wow." I took it as, like, I knew to reach out to him because 'cause
Right.
they're gonna know it,
Right.
and they're gonna be excited to show you that, whether it's your son or family member, it doesn't matter, they're gonna be excited to show you that. S
Right.
That's what I like. Alright, we're gonna go to the key difference.
All
Is that
right.
difference with the
So the key
20-year-old, like
difference for a 20-year-old is I may not have decades of experience, but I learn quickly, work hard, and have the potential to become a valuable long term employee. I
so
love that.
I love it, you know?
Yes.
It's the truth. It
Yeah.
I've never had
Teachable,
somebody say
trainable.
that to me. I've never had somebody say all that. I think if they said that to me, I'd be like, "Alright,
Hired.
yeah, you're hired." Because versus a 55-year-old, and this is my part, the answer is by saying, "I bring experience that allows me to contribute immediately." What a way of saying that, right? solve problems effectively, adapt to change, help the organization succeed while continuing, there it is, continuing to learn.
Mhm.
Whether you're 55 and you say that. But when I listen to what you just said, I like them both. They both have value. I mean,
Right.
it
So I
depends on the
think,
hiring manager, I would imagine.
yeah, this is going to really depend on what role they're walking into. What is the problem that needs to be solved? Is
Right.
it immediate? And if it's not an immediate fix, and is it going to be a catastrophic issue? Or do you have some long term planning that you have that you can play with a little bit?
Right.
So it really, I think it's all going to depend on what the hiring manager needs are
For that
of
part.
who is
Exactly.
going to get that position.
Yep. And I agree. All right. My next thing. All right. Is that the next page says number 10? Why should we hire someone with your experience? Is that mine?
Further down, interview questions.
Oh, where'd I go? Let me see. Interview.
Typical 20, typical
Where
55.
did it go? Oh, how did you keep? What did my son bring up to me? Let's see. Questions on my single. Did I miss something?
Yeah, questions that may signal age bias. Keep looking further down.
Oh, may signal bias. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, questions that may signal age bias. So, while employers generally should not ask questions that reveal age, applicants may encounter questions such as, "How long do you plan to keep working?" Wow, that's a. I don't know if I've ever been asked that. I mean, that.
That should not be asked.
Well, yeah. What? I'm like, I'm 60, so I'm like, all right, I'm going till I'm 70. So I'm like, I don't want to say, well, I'm going to collect my Social Security in 10 years.
Right,
You
right.
know, are you comfortable working for someone younger? Even that, do you think somebody would actually? Well, no, this is a sign that it is signal age bias. You're right. If somebody was asked you that question, that I don't, I
Yeah,
don't know.
steer clear of that.
Yeah, I don't think. But I'm sure people ask it or they try to get around it, thinking that's what it is.
Yeah, and this is what we talked about last time, Dave, is that they got to learn the laws and what you
Right.
can and cannot ask. Like the question that I do not like, tell me about yourself,
Yeah.
because then it just opens up a whole bunch of professional or personal responses that
With that.
otherwise should not be part of the decision making.
And here, you know what? This is it's a way around. Like, can you keep up with the fast paced environment? Wow. That I don't Jesus. That's just saying if you, I don't even know how you would answer. Why would you answer no? First of all, of course the person's gonna say, yes, I can, but
Right,
when you look at the signal eight, it may signal age bias. That's a kind of a question you can come around.
right.
You can try to do it. But there again, that I don't think I would tell the person I tell everybody that the job is a fast pace.
Hmm.
It's very physical. Here's a video, check it out. That covers you in a way.
Right.
Do you have experience with current technology? Wow, that's a question. Hmm. I don't know if I've never asked that. I don't think I've ever asked
Yeah.
that. I don't know, but these may signal age bias. These are some of the questions that you might be like, how would you even answer that? Do you have experience? I'd be like, well, like what? What type of technology?
Right.
I'd have to come back with that because I wouldn't know if somebody was to ask me that question. I wouldn't know how to say that. Besides, okay, what kind of technology are you talking about?
Right. Got to get more specific on that.
Yeah, or will you fit into our young culture?
Yeah, I don't like that. No.
I don't. I don't think. And it says here, like you said, if these questions arise, can redirect the conversation, and that's what I was just doing, in a
Hmm.
way. You can come back and answer that because I think that would put a recruiter back on the spot. Like, whoa,
Right.
you know, what do you mean to fit into a younger culture? Like, what's a younger culture in the workplace? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That
This should signal that all HR should be reviewing the questions and be approved before you ask.
Yeah, because I know I wouldn't have a job if I asked those questions. I mean, that's just common sense, though, because if you've
Right.
recruited for so long, you'd be like, "Whoa, wait a minute here. You can't ask that question," especially when
Right.
we've said that before. Because listen, you don't want to ask somebody to have kids. Now, sometimes if you have your picture, I think I've had they've seen the pictures on my desk or something of my family. Oh, you have a son and daughter? Yeah, I have a son. I have a son. Okay, they brought it up.
Hmm.
But I've never come back and say, "Do you have children?" Because it just doesn't come out of my mouth
Right.
unless they bring it up. I was like, oh, that's great. That's great with kids, but because sometimes, again, that's a different story there about bias about with children. That could go
Right.
on the younger side of it versus
Right.
the older side when you, geez, I'm so smart. You see what I just did there? I just the younger because that's the opposite. That's the total opposite of ageism in a way.
Yeah. Yep.
You're asking if you got kids because if you got 3 or 4 kids, you're gonna be like, most people will think, oh, wow, that means calling off or children are
Right.
sick. And I'm sorry, that's just the way some people think,
Yeah.
so
And
that could
that's why
be the
it should never
reverse.
be asked. Should
Yeah.
not even be
So,
part of it.
all right, I agree with you on that one. All right, here we go for the interview questions if you want to take that one.
All right. So, for how do you keep your skills current? So, for a 20-year-old, I recently completed coursework and online certifications, and I like watching tutorials and practicing new software. I'm always looking for ways to learn.
Okay, strong answer. I like continuous learn. Again, new software, I love it. Training when available, efficient ways to work, every position. I like that because it sounds they're very interested. They're
Hmm.
very motivated. If
Yeah.
somebody
And
was
they're
to
able to
say that
keep.
to me like that, I mean, again, I can imagine if somebody answered me. This is what I love about these questions because it puts in perspective. Wow, if you really learn these kind of to responses, this can be very powerful for you. It would be
Right.
me if I had somebody that said stuff like this, they'd be right in my book, whether ageism or not. I'd be like, okay. It's all
So,
depending, what your hiring manager wants, but still.
So, Dave, what I've heard a lot of younger people is say what they don't know versus what they do know. And I think for anybody listening, no matter what age group you are, be able to provide what you can do and not what you can't do.
But you
Because I
can't.
think we just fall back into the, you're not confident and
Right.
you're really not sure what to say. So you're just going to, hide behind that. Well, I don't know how to, but I can learn.
Right.
Don't use the but and don't say what you can't do. Tell them what you can do and just leave it at that.
Leave it at that. You call it a day. I mean,
Yes.
just because the more I think you go into that, like we said before, all different things, like the way you answer the questions. Again, if you're listening, and anybody wants a copy of this, they could feel free to message one of us and we can send you them. But it's really cool because the next one again, tell me about the time you had to learn new technology. When we When my previous employer implemented a new inventory management system, I volunteered to be one of the first employees trained. I learned the system quickly and helped coworkers become comfortable using it. That there I love.
Yeah. No, it's I think again, just being able to talk about what you can do, what you did do, is definitely key.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know how you would switch that around because again, tell me about a time you had to I that's not a bad question.
No, I like that question. Tell me. So I'm all about behavioral type. Tell me about
Right.
a time when. I'm never going to ask you, to give me something like what you would do. I want to know what you did do.
Right, because if I would listen, the first thing I'm sorry comes to my mind is my son all the time, because if you're in an interview and you come back with a story, you're upbeat, and if I would sit there and start laughing, saying, "Listen, I got a 17-year-old that I learned new technology with the AI or anything with on Siri or anything
Right.
like that." Hey, listen, I call my son, and that's a time that I had to learn. And again, I don't care. I think you can be funny, you can be humorous in an interview. You don't have to be
Yeah.
stiff. It's
Yep.
okay to laugh and to
Yep.
tell them a little bit about yourself. But there again, these are kind of a new kind of questions that have I been asked that? No, I've never been asked that. And I like that question.
Right. Right. So for the 55-year-old, I've learned numerous systems over my career, from paper
Ooh.
process to cloud-based software. Most recently, I learned a new inventory or CRM system and helped others transition successfully. So just being able to again say what you did do and then just stay with confidence is key for both age groups.
For that, I am missing a page, I think. I am missing something.
Okay.
I'm sitting here thinking I'm missing something on there. That's okay. No, I'm just sitting there thinking, where did I get that question from? All right. All right. So the part about I wanted to talk about the next one is how do you work with younger coworkers or managers?
Yes.
On that part. it says a strong answer would be, I've worked successfully with people of all ages through my career. I believe brings different strengths, perspectives. I enjoy learning from others while sharing my own experience when it's helpful.
Yes.
I
So that's for the 55-year-old.
For
Um,
55, okay.
yep. For
I've
the
worked
20, I enjoyed working with people from different backgrounds and experience levels. I learn from everyone and appreciate different perspectives. So,
okay.
again, both of those are very strong depending on, your career level.
Do you think that would be a question to ask though? Could it
Um,
be? Could it be? Or
I mean, I personally would never ask that
maybe different careers,
question.
different jobs, maybe.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are some. I think there's some places like Walmart and Amazon. They're so huge that you're going to. And I did have somebody at Amazon tell me and ask me like, how would you be able to work with people younger and have them be your boss? And I have never had a young boss before, and that was definitely made me pause a little bit.
I
Um,
could picture that being in the IT market.
right.
Let's face it. I mean, the new generation on the AI, they got it down. It's
Right.
happening. I mean, I'm like here I go again, the older. But to learn that now, for me, I'm going to rely on the younger generation for that because I don't have. Wow, what I shouldn't say it like that. I do want to learn, but I think it takes a little. It's a little bit harder sometimes because
Right.
you're not brought up right off the bat. These kids are coming right out of college. They're working with this. They know what they're doing.
Well, they don't know anything else. I mean, they
That's what
have
I'm saying. Right.
computers. That's what they do. I mean, the everything is computer based from the time that they started.
That's right. Yeah, because we didn't have the cell. You're right. You know what? Because we didn't have. Listen, you didn't have the cell. You couldn't just type in an answer. I remember when I was a kid, we had the encyclopedias. My God, they were so old. But I remember my parents having them, and that was it. You had to.
You got to go to the library.
My God, oh my God. You know what? I still like going to them. We go to Borders and Borderlines, all that, and
Yeah.
we go there because we like to sit there I take my son down there and we'll read.
Yeah.
This way, we don't have to pay for the books. You just sit there in magazines. You look, you have coffee and everything for an hour or two, and I always fall asleep.
Oh, there you go. In the middle of the
It's
floor.
relaxing. But my point there is, you're right. Libraries and you didn't have that at your disposal.
Right.
I mean, right there, you ask anything you want.
Right.
And there again, they know the different websites, they know the different softwares. Like, you can sit there and say Chat GPT. What is you use Chat GPT? And then they spit off all these other names. I'm like, what?
Right.
Just like I wanted to learn Venmo today, and I was like, because I had to buy something, and I'm like, I'm asking the other younger person, how do you even use Venmo, iPhone, iPay, all these different platforms? Oh, no,
Right.
but if it's not your bank, I'm like, wait a minute here. What do you mean not my bank? I got my bank. No, it has to be certain banks. I'm like, oh my God, am I lost? But
Right.
you have
Right.
to learn it. You have to learn it.
Well, and I think that's that the question being able to, I mean, being the adaptability that just I think
Right.
is key for any age is being able to be adaptable and
Right.
willing and adaptable.
To do that.
Yes.
The next one, you want to hit the why is that the why are you changing jobs and the point in your
Yep.
career?
Yep. So why are you changing jobs at this point in your career for a 20-year-old? I'm looking for a place where I can start building my career, gain experience, and continue developing professionally.
Okay. All right. I again, that's great. It's great answers.
Mhm.
What they say there. I'm like, I wouldn't know what else to say on that part. Do you have the part with the 50?
Yep. For the 50, I'm looking for opportunity where I can continue making meaningful contributions, solve problems, and be part of a
Main
strong
part.
team while continuing to grow.
See, I mean, all that. I like that. I just like it all. These things, I swear, I wish I could just write these down. I want to go back to my resume now, or I want to have these things printed out in front of me. I would definitely have, but these are kind of questions too that it really, as a recruiter, you can really learn from this.
Right.
It's just a great way to learn and to listen to this, or ask for a copy, and or even Google yourself of how you should answer. And I think by learning this right here, I think that's really going to help you in an interview. You know,
Absolutely,
I'm not saying
absolutely.
you're going to answer these questions, but
Yep.
if you are, at least you're way prepared for it. You know,
Yes.
do you think when it comes to the videos screening with AIs, right? You know, when for example, when you go to some websites, you can get your interview everything with AI. Do you think ageism has something to do with something like that that affects people too as well versus the younger generation, if you want to say?
Yes, because I think that when you're doing your video and you're being seen and not seeing them and
Right.
talking into a computer, they're able to ascertain what you look like, what you're wearing, how you sound. There's just a lot that I think can go into it.
Right.
I am not a fan of the AI video. Is it going to become a thing?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Just I don't have to like it. It's not something that I would be jumping up and down to do.
Because a lot of people don't like to be like, listen, when they don't like to be on the screen.
Right.
They weren't brought up with it. Listen, the younger generation, again, age. I know I'm breaking it down like younger, older, but it's the truth. You know that's what they. I like how you said that before. It's what they've been brought up with.
Hmm.
They're used to video. Like, and Bill said something great last night. Think about it. The kids that were 15 and something in COVID are now in the workplace around 21. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
think about that. When you think about it, they've already just hit videos when everybody. That's all you did. So that's
Right.
all they know. You know,
That's a good point.
Yeah, and I was like, "Wow, that's right." When you're 15, now 6 years later, wait, 6, 7 years later, you're 21. You're up in there into that. Now you're in that workforce.
Right.
So that was where you were brought up. Like, what do you mean a face to face, or what do you mean you have to work? You can't work from home. You you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's when you look back at that. There again, I like how you said it. It's what they've been brought up with.
Yeah.
You know, they have all the answers. You could have your phone open and, all the new softwares, like I told you before, when they're reading an answer. Listen, some of these people will try to pull it over on you. And I think as a recruiter, you'll know that.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think you'll see that maybe more. I shouldn't say it young. Maybe you see that more in the younger generation versus the older, because I don't know if I would even use software. I don't even know why I would use a software for an interview, first of all. You know,
Yeah, I don't see any the older doing that. I think the younger definitely they don't know what they don't know and relying on something that they think is pertinent.
that's what I mean. And
Yeah.
I just look at this, but again, you know what? We're at the 40 minutes. I hope people really look at these and just, take away from the show about the main thing I love about these questions is that it's just listen to the show, listen to the questions, how a 20-year-old, listen to what a 50-year-old would say. And I think you're going to get the same feeling that I got out of it with these is, wow, what do I want? It,
Right.
what do I want? Do I want the 20-some-year-old? Do I want the 50-some-year-old? And not by going by just because he's 20 or because he's 50 or the way they answer it. They both answer it honestly and great questions. So you might have a hiring manager that it's not going to tell you they want somebody younger. They're not going to say, listen, I want a 25-year-old. They're not going to say that. They can't,
Right.
but they can tell you what they're looking for.
Right. And I think no matter what, you have to have confidence as well, because if you have a lack of confidence,
Right.
whether you're younger or older, that is a red flag. Because as I've said before, if you're not confident in yourself, then how is anybody else going to be confident in you? You have to have that, and if you don't have it, then just go do some figure that out. But you have to have that confidence, and then let
Right.
people follow you, and that is going to be what will put you over the edge there.
Do you think it starts with ageism? I look at the age brackets. Do you think it starts in the 40s, 50s, 60s, or do you feel like some recruiters will be like, wow, he's 40 some. Okay, they're middle age. Again, I don't think that way. But when you look at some of the statistics, they're saying it hits in the 50s. In the 40s, you're in your mid career. You're midway
Right.
versus being 50, 60. Again, what we talked about in the beginning, I think if you look at those certain little things, that'll
Mhm.
knock some of that stuff off.
Right.
It
Well, I
really will.
think, pilots can only work for so long before they
Right.
have to retire. And, you got those who are in education that, around 55, you're able to
Do you think
retire.
companies look at that though? Maybe no. I mean, there it does happen. So I'm sure they do because, but like, do they say to yourself, "Well, we can't hire out of school. Well, that person's 60. They only got 5, 6 more years." I'm thinking, okay, you're going to get 5, 6 good years.
Right.
That's just me. But there are companies out there. Listen, the statistics are there.
Mhm.
It's there that it's happening, and it happens. It could be smaller companies, and maybe some recruiters do it and they don't even realize it.
Right.
You know,
Well, and this goes back to what we've talked about before, Dave, is HR needs to make sure everybody is
right,
educated. And that means everybody from the CEO to the hiring managers, uh,
right,
to the up and coming recruiters really understand what you can and cannot do legally and the why
right.
behind it. The chances of things being found out are slim, but if they do,
If they
uh,
do,
you're
yeah.
going to have quite a, financial payout. So they're
Yeah,
just
and that's wow,
it's
the
all about
training,
the laws.
yeah, I think training has to be done. You're talking like you said, the outcome of if not, again, you asked the wrong question. You just opened your door,
Right,
and that person, if they're frustrated and it's that timing of that person, if they're mad, they're gonna make a complaint. And once
right,
that complaint goes, you better make sure you have something in place.
right. And writing on the resumes and stuff. I mean, that's you've got to be careful what you write
Yeah,
and on what legal document, what you're talking about. So there's just a lot of things that need
they
to
need to
be
do.
educated with recruiters and hiring
Yep.
managers.
All right, well, I guess we're, off to the following week, so, again, I like these questions. I think everybody should, if they want a copy of them, just answer, I can even send them. I have them too from the first show that we did. And
Okay.
there's some great things to show your team, I think it is. To say, "Hey, just look at this. Just what would you do as," or your recruiters, send it to them, and say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And, they might come back to you and they might get a new perspective of saying, "Whoa, I might be doing this and not even knowing it." Not even knowing it. So, all right, young lady, I will put this video on and I will be talking to you right after.
Sounds good.
All right. Talk to you soon, Amy.
All right.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.